everyone, this is Eugene Roddenberry.
Dr. Mohammed Noor.
Adam Nimoy, Leonard Nimoy's son.
This is Leonard Crowfoot.
This is Dr. Aaron McDonald, Star Trek Science Advisor and Lieutenant Commander McDonald on Star Trek Prodigy.
And you're listening to
Humanist Trek.
Humanist Trek.
You're listening to Humanist Trek.
the Humanist Trek podcast.
And you're listening to Humanist Trek, a fabulous, fabulous show.
Enjoy.
And don't worry, you can do your Temporal Mechanics 101 homework later.
Worf and Kinera exchange another bit of Klingon that appears to have no translation. I looked it up. Which is Gesundheit.
Perhaps I could use this as an excuse to go to those far-off planets with little polka-dotted people if necessary, and be able to talk about love, war, nature, God, sex, all those things that go to make up the excitement of the human condition.
This is Captain Jean-Luc Picard.
Welcome aboard.
Jean-Luc Picard to the Starship Enterprise.
You want to review your rapid progress?
That nonsense is centuries behind us. To the Starship Enterprise.
Oh, yeah?
And it's enough, damn it!
Tempo, mon capitan.
To the Starship Enterprise.
But you can't deny that you're still a dangerous, savage child race.
Of the planet Earth.
You just don't get it, do you, Jean-Luc? That is the exploration that awaits you. Not mapping stars and studying nebula, but charting the unknown possibilities of existence.
Nooknek, and welcome to Humanist Trek. It's a comedy Star Trek podcast about the humanism in Star Trek. I'm Sarah Ray.
And I'm Allie Ashmead.
Tell me about your weekend.
The last couple of weeks, I've actually been very social. I've been leaving the house.
What?
I know, right? I normally stay pretty much hidden in my house. Last weekend, we went to the Bernie Sanders and AOC, kind of like, I won't say it's a rally, but it was definitely it was a rally. They came to Denver, and I went down there. Parking, always have parking anxiety, is a nightmare in Denver.
Mm-hmm.
There were so many fucking people. Me and 3 friends were down there, and it was encouraging to see. Now, I will say there were mostly white people because black people are just like done with having to march and rally and do all this shit. And we always got slack for it. So there weren't a lot of black people, but I was promised food, and one of my friends, I was going to see her. So that's why I was like, okay, I'll go. But it was inspiring to see so many people, mostly white people, out there.
Yeah.
And like fighting for equality.
Sick and tired of this bullshit.
Yeah.
I think I heard Bernie say maybe in an interview later that was the largest rally that he's had so far.
Yeah. 34,000 people. All standing between the Capitol building and that one area in the Civic Center.
Yeah.
Outside. They had 4 or 5 drones getting aerial footage of all those people. And it was great. It was great to see.
That's awesome. I wish I could have been there. I'm a big Bernie fan.
Me too.
And Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez as well.
Oh, yeah.
She is fire.
If I could foresee the future, if I wanted a female president, it would be her.
Yep.
Because she has not lost the fire since way back.
Mm-hmm.
And neither has Bernie. And I imagine it's very difficult to keep that fire when all this shit is happening and you're just constantly losing or feel like you're losing.
And nobody's listening to you.
Nobody.
Yeah.
The Democratic Party, our own DMC, are a bunch of pussies. So it was great to see so many people out, and to continue on with my outing in search of diversity. Aurora, I live in Aurora, so Aurora has always gotten a bad rap for, oh, it's ghetto. And this is people who say this stuff and don't live here.
Of course. Yeah.
It's ghetto. There's gangs.
Well, even our own president, as you were just mentioning, our own president is one of those people that's, the crime and the gangs in Aurora, and we're gonna go get them. We're gonna get the gangs. We're gonna take them away.
Fuck that guy. It's no worse than any other city. It really isn't.
Mm-hmm.
But what I love about Aurora, and the reason I moved here, was because there was more diverse than Denver, even though I'm like just down the road. And so we had just heard that a store called Daiso had opened. And if you don't know what Daiso is, because I wasn't that familiar with it, it is a Japanese chain of sort of like dollar stores.
Huh.
And I was like, oh my God, let's go. So my friends came down again, those same friends that we went to the Barney rally with. And we love anything Asian. so we get there and there's a line out the door to get in. So they're letting, as people leave, they're letting people in because there was no standing room only in the store.
Wow.
And I was just like, I'm so happy I live here because it's very diverse. We do stick together. We don't give people up for ice. We are like craving diversity. So whenever we get a chance to have a store like this, everybody flocks to it.
That's so cool.
We shopped in there for like, we went through every aisle. Some aisles were like decimated because like they've only been open a week.
Yeah.
And then we had ramen. We went to an amazing ramen place and had more Asian food. And then we went to H Mart. I mean, that was our whole weekend was diversity and other cultures.
That's amazing. I love it. Yeah. And cultural heritage is extremely important.
Yeah.
Especially to Klingons, for example.
Nice. Segue queen.
And that brings us to Star Trek The Next Generation, Season 1, Episode 20, Heart of Glory.
Commander, you'll soon be getting an intruder alert.
What? Got something, sir.
Intruder alert, sir.
It's an old-style starship, sir. Constellation class, heading this way under impulse com.
Number one, kindly take charge of our guests until we have time to decide what we're going to do with them. Sir, number one, keep them out of my way.
There is some shit going down in the DMZ.
Straight off the bat.
Yeah, we're right in it. Riker asks if it might be the Ferengi, and Picard's like, no, number one. They weren't really working out as the new Star Trek villain. And when they arrive at the DMZ, Data announces that recent weapons fire doesn't match with known Ferengi designs, but it could be Romulan. And Picard says, Mr. Data, Gene Roddenberry himself declared there would be no Romulans in Star Trek The Next Generation. Your sensor readings must be faulty.
Did he say that?
He did indeed. He did not want the Romulans to be part of The Next Generation.
Do we know why?
I don't know why.
I'm just curious.
We're moving on. We're doing different things.
Yeah, but you got to have multiple aliens,
They soon find a vessel adrift with life support failing, all other major systems inoperative. So Picard orders them to enter the DMZ and get a little closer. There is, of course, the possibility that one or even a whole damn fleet of cloaked Romulan ships are right out there, like right out the window.
They could be cloaked.
Reach out and touch a few of them. Like they could be close.
It's a trap. But as they get a look at the actual craft, Riker jumps up and says, it's Talarian. And I guess it's part of Starfleet Academy to be able to recognize all types of ships from different whatever.
Imagine how many flashcards there would be for all the different types of ships that you'd have to learn.
But Data has done some digging, and he's identified it as the Batris, which is just a general cargo vessel, but it's a really long way from home. And why is it out in the neutral zone?
And then Worf picks up possible life signs near main engineering, but he's not certain because of some magnetic and radioactive clutter in that section. What a weird word choice. Interference is the word you're looking for, I'm thinking. Magnetic interference? Radioactive interference. Clutter?
It's clutter.
Okay.
It's
All
clutter,
right.
Sarah.
Okay.
So they get ready to prepare an away team, and Picard is thinking the same thing. It might be a trap, so stay on guard. And there's something funny. There's something fishy about this.
So Riker, Data, and Geordi are going to beam over and investigate. And Picard holds Tasha back just in case they find themselves in a space battle. He wants her at tactical. And then Picard asks Geordi about using the visual acuity transmitter. Well, we don't know what that is just yet, but the whole thing definitely feels like a trap.
Tell Starfleet we're entering the neutral zone.
In the transporter room, we learn that the visual acuity transmitter is basically like a body cam. It'll transmit back to the D whatever Geordi is seeing.
but it will transmit the way Geordi is seeing.
Yes, right. Geordi and Data explain to Riker that it doesn't have very much of a range at this point, but it's something they're working on. And then we never talk about it or see it again.
Did we not?
No.
I think there is one more episode later on that we do see it, but it's later on.
I think we do it in a movie. And then there was an episode I was thinking about where Geordi goes into the ship and he sees his mom. He's hallucinating people, but he's not on the ship. It's a probe that he's hooked up to the thing controlling. That was the only other one I could think of. Anyway, they give this Wi-Fi body cam a quick test before beaming over. Phaser's on stun. And the inside of the Batrius looks like that lab where Wesley had the Kobayashi Maru test. Smoke, wires, fallen beams. It's really fucked up.
Except with space grates. Lots of space grate.
Geordi switches on the transmitter again, and we get a really long sequence where Picard sees like Geordi for the first time, and he has so many questions. And I get how fascinating this would be under any normal circumstance, but we're in the DMZ on a ship that just had its ass kicked by some enemy somewhere, and we don't know where that someone is or who they are. I don't know how I feel about this whole exchange. This feels like it's not the right time or place.
Yeah, because like you said, Picard is gushing about, oh, look at that. Oh, pan over to Riker.
Yeah,
and that
right.
doesn't even look right. Is that what you see? I mean, he's being able to see through Geordi's eyes for the first time. I get it.
Yeah.
Maybe they should have like tested this before. But yeah, and he's like, oh, pan over to Data. Is that Data? There's an aura around him. Oh, well, and then they get into this discussion about, well, that's what I see for all androids. Don't you see that? And isn't that normal for humans? And then Riker's like, hold the fuck up. Can you just, can we just not do this right now?
Yeah. This is super interesting, I'm sure, but we came here looking for survivors who are probably dying.
And we have 5 minutes before the ship explodes.
Yeah, let's table this conversation for later. I'm with you, though. I love this wrecked ship set. This space grate floors. Mm-hmm. I want space grate floors. I think that would be so fucking cool. Bitch to keep clean, but I think they're so cool.
Not really, because everything you drop would go right through it, and it would be fine.
You don't think it's like a plexi? Where the whole, like, underneath it, maybe like it's a thing that sits on top of a plexi sheet.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, it could be
maybe
like a toaster. You know how when you're cleaning out the bottom of your toaster.
Yeah.
That shit will come out. You got to get a new toaster. I don't
know. I also very much liked the suspense music in this episode.
Yeah,
good stuff. We get some shots of the away team walking through the hallways, real spooky, and occasionally we get to see what the bridge sees on Geordi vision. Finally, they come to main engineering, and Data is registering high levels of deuterium gas leaking from somewhere, but not at dangerous levels yet. But the life signs are on the far side of engineering, and either way around is equally dangerous.
With Geordi's spidey vision, he can see something developing in the bulkhead, and it's some sort of fissure. Nobody else can see it at all. But again, Picard has him zoom in so he can see. Yeah. Oh, is this what you're seeing?
Take a few steps forward.
Yeah, pan right. And so Geordi can see it, and he determines they've got maybe 5 minutes left. Even with 5 minutes left, they're still not hurrying.
No, they play this moment again for the technological wonder of Geordi being able to detect these imperfections in the metal sheeting or whatever. Like,
right.
Yeah, like we're getting ready to blow up, guys.
Yeah. And then the closer they get to engineering, they lose the Geordi vision.
When they arrive at the warp core, the heat and toxic gases are really strong here, so they decide to send Data alone because it'll have less effect on him. But when he finds them behind a jammed door, everyone goes into the heat and toxic gas fog. Data could have handled this whole thing on his own.
I was saying the same goddamn thing because, okay, so Data goes back, gets the other two, and says, hey, look at this door. It's jammed. And I'm the only one strong enough to open it. So why didn't he just fucking open it then?
Right.
But no.
Nope. He drags them through the dangerous leaking gases. Yeah. They can't blast their way through this door because a heater beam would ignite those gases and blow them all up. So Data's going to demonstrate his superhuman strength again, like when he dug out that dead girl's body from under the rubble on that one mining colony. Once inside, they find 3 shadowy figures, one lying on a table, maybe dead, we don't know, and 2 others standing next to that table. One steps forward into the light. It's not Ferengi. It's not Romulan.
It's Klingon.
Captain, Klingon battlecruisers headed toward this sector.
Battle alert, Mr. Crusher.
Klingons.
Klingon attack cruiser decloaking up the starboard bow.
Hello.
They are hailing us.
This is the Klingon vessel, Matar.
In all my dealings with Klingons, including our Lieutenant Worf, the thought never occurred to me of Klingons laughing.
There is much about us you do not know.
Klingons do not express feeling the way you do.
Klingons do not faint. Klingons do not give in to illness. It is inappropriate for a Klingon to receive family while on duty. Klingons appreciate strong women. Klingons do not pursue relationships. They conquer that which they desire. I am not concerned with pleasure, Commander. I am a warrior. I am a Klingon! If you doubt it, a demonstration can be arranged. Klingons do not allow themselves to be probed.
Record scratch and cut around to everyone's shock, finally landing on Worf.
What is it? What do you see?
Klingons.
Klingons?
The lead Klingon announces himself as Chorus, played by Vaughn Armstrong, who is a Star Trek legend. He goes on to play a bunch of different alien and human characters in DS9, Voyager, and Enterprise. But this isn't the time for introductions. They've got to get out of here before the ship explodes.
Suddenly that 5 minutes is important.
Yeah. The body on the table is alive, but only barely, and Chorus insists he will carry his comrade. And that's some dumb honor bullshit, but also he has no idea how easy it would be for Data to pick that body up and carry it out of here.
Well, it was pretty easy for him too.
Mm-hmm.
As they rush out and they try to get as far away from engineering as possible, as the ship is starting to blow, they had got to just go wherever and have Tasha try to beam them up. So Tasha tries to beam them up.
But there's too much interference.
Right.
Not clutter.
Clutter.
Not clutter.
Did she say
interference.
Did she say interference?
No, she says interference.
Maybe it's just a Klingon word. And so she tries and fails and tries, but out of the actual window of the Enterprise, it's blown up. But then just in time, they materialize on the pad.
They're taking the survivors to sickbay, and when Picard says he's going there, Worf's like, sounds like this is going to be a Klingon episode. I should probably go too. So Picard's like, yeah, you're probably right. Let's go. Well, the injured survivor is in critical condition, and the other 2 Klingons seem very surprised in a you can't be serious kind of way about there being a Klingon serving on a Starfleet ship. These Klingons are Lieutenant Conmel, played by Charles Hyman, who guest starred on a lot of classic shows like Cagney and Lacey, Dukes of Hazzard, Simon and Simon. And the injured warrior is Kunivas. Kunalingus, played by Robert Bauer, who was in a lot of TV and movies. But what I liked about this, he was in a band with Michael Dorn called The Watch. Super cool.
Nice.
They give us their version of the story. The Talarians were doing an Uber mission, taking the Klingons to an outpost, when they were attacked by a Ferengi vessel without warning. They were in their quarters, but somehow ended up convincing the freighter captain to give them control of the ship. The Ferengi called for their surrender, so they powered down, played dead, and this tricked the Ferengi into lowering their shields, and they lit them up. And Worf's like, actually, those weren't Ferengi weapons. Oh, okay, fine. They were Romulan weapons, but it was a Ferengi ship. Worf says, okay, but how did you end up in the DMZ? And they're like, you know how it is playing space battle games. It's hard to figure out where the hell you are in 3D space. Like, we probably just, it's an arbitrary line in the space. We probably just accidentally crossed over it while we were fighting, you know.
And then Picard starts asking questions, and he's like, there's still some things that I'm not real clear about. And Cora says, I'm hungry.
Yeah, we're hungry and
We're
tired.
tired. We don't want to answer any more questions. They need to go and get their story straight. But they do say, yeah, we'll answer your questions. Worf asks to be the one to show them to their cabin.
And once they leave, Picard and Riker have a quick chat about how there's got to be more to this story.
Did you notice that Picard called them Tyrellians?
Oh, no, I didn't.
That was the Tyrellian ship so far, of course.
It's Talarian.
He fucked up that line.
What? Riker wonders if he should have assigned a security detail to the Klingons, but Picard says Worf can handle it. Worf isn't in security, though, is he? Those are gold shirts.
No, he's not, but he's taken responsibility because these are his people.
Right. Well, so Worf's not in security at this point, but I'm sure this escorting Klingons around the ship, it's valuable experience that'll come in handy at some point, I would say. Maybe if, I don't know, Tasha were to go on vacation or something.
She took some PTO or, things happen.
Right. They're also going to contact Starfleet to learn more about these particular Klingons, but because communication in the future works however the story needs it to, it'll take 48 hours for a message to get to Starfleet and presumably another 48 to get back.
I thought the same thing. I'm like, how convenient.
Right. Sometimes we can just get on a Zoom call with an admiral, and sometimes it's going to take 2 days to bounce this message around the cosmos.
Yeah.
Yeah. This next sequence cuts back and forth a lot between guest quarters and sickbay. In the guest quarters, Chorus and Conmel waste little time ripping into Worf for being a weak, soft, puny Starfleet officer. Taunts like, "What's it like for the hunter to lie down with the prey?" and "Do glorious battles no longer inspire your dreams?" They bully the shit out of Worf.
Oh, I know. They're like, "Does it make you gentle? Does it fill your heart with peace?" I'm like, Jesus Christ, guys.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting, too, because the first thing that Conmail did was go over and order some food. Like, I guess the replicators are just, like, everybody has one, I suppose.
Right. They're in all the quarters. This is maybe one of the first times we see the replicator. I don't think we've seen much of it, have we?
I don't think so. But he orders some Omat Gree tea and Piviats, whatever the fuck that is. And sits down and starts eating and bullying Worf.
Searching.
Well, apparently it was seen in Lonely Among Us.
Which one was that? That was
the one where they meet the Melvar cloud and Picard becomes energy and goes out into the cloud.
Okay. But yeah, we haven't seen it a lot. Picard doesn't order his Earl Grey tea yet. I don't think.
No, there. YouTube viewer commented that that's a season 2 thing, and I think I'm going to start trusting that now.
Oh, yeah.
In sickbay, they're starting to lose their patient, and Picard calls down to Chorus to pass this news along, so they all end up in sickbay, where Crusher reports that Cunnilingus is dying. As Cunnilingus takes his last breath, Chorus holds his eyes open, and the Klingons, Worf included, perform the Klingon death ritual, which is a low growl that builds to a roar.
And they all look up into the sky. I was so sure that Becca was going to ask something
about that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I was wrong.
This is all great world building for the Klingons. And of course, these Klingons are decidedly different than TOS Klingons. Also, we learn that Klingons believe that after the warrior's spirit has left the body, it's just an empty shell to be discarded. No caskets, no funerals. We yell at the sky and then it's done. Get rid of it.
And to me, that kind of makes sense. Like,
I agree.
Who cares what happens to your body after you're gone, unless it's useful for organs, like today. Otherwise, I don't really care.
As Chorus, Conmel, and Worf return to guest quarters, Worf tries to get the real story out of them, but this just turns into more taunting for Worf. We do get a lot more of Worf's backstory, though, because these Klingons are trying to understand how in the hell a warrior could end up among these soft science people. And Worf says he was at the Khitomer outpost when the Romulans attacked. He was rescued by a human Starfleet officer, and I really feel some type of way about this, Allie. This human dude just took Worf home, handed him to his wife, and said, raise him.
Yeah.
The fuck? Like, what? Call up the Klingons and be like, hey, we've got one of your kids. You probably want him back.
Yeah, she's probably like, what the fuck do I do with this? You're like,
right?
I don't know anything about Klingons.
Instead, young Worf's face decorated the sides of milk cartons throughout the Klingon Empire for years.
Yeah, yeah. Like, at least when a dog or a cat goes missing, we try to at least see if they're chipped or some shit. We don't fucking just keep it.
Yeah. Yeah, I felt really some type of way about that.
Worf goes on to tell them, about his upbringing, and he says something about his foster brother and him.
Mm-hmm.
Who is his foster brother?
I don't think we know yet.
Okay. But, I mean, do we ever know? Do we really ever know who Worf had a foster brother, which means is that a human brother?
As we come to learn later, he was adopted by the Roshenkos, who raised him, but I don't remember him having a human brother. I don't remember there being another Roshenko son.
Me either.
There's another son of Moog,
right?
Worf's Klingon brother.
Oh, maybe that's
that we haven't gotten to yet, but that's not his foster brother, I don't think.
I don't know. When they found Worf and I guess some random other kid, they took them home to this place called Galt, which is a farming colony.
And of course, they give him shit about that too. Like,
yeah,
a farming colony, really? That's no place for a warrior.
They're just a bunch of bullies.
Yeah. Yep.
They're a bunch of bullies. So then he talks about his foster brother. When they became of age, entered Starfleet Academy, his foster brother hated it and went back to Galt. And we never hear from them again.
Chorus and Conmel really lean into this, what it must be like to have no connection to your culture, in an attempt to manipulate Worf to join them in their crazy crusade against peace. They finally admit that they lied earlier. They commandeered that freighter, leaving its crew behind, and went looking for a new world where they could live as true Klingons. But when the Klingon Empire sent a ship to bring them back, they destroyed it. And there's a lot of cult speak and conspiracy theory language from these guys. They didn't want to battle their brothers, but he says they had been corrupted by the illusion of peace, gave up their cultural identity for this so-called peace. So very cult-like, these two extremists.
They are warriors and they want to fight and they're going to find it and they're going to get a fight regardless. They don't want anything to do with no peace.
Finally, after spilling this whole pot of tea, Chorus asks if it's permitted for Worf to show them around the ship, and he says yes!
Okay,
what the
why
fuck?
are you not... I know, why are you not angry that he just lied to your captain? And if you saw Starfleet, why are you okay with that? And then, here's engineering, by the way.
Right? Yeah. Not only am I going to take you on a tour, I'm going to take you to all the sensitive places of operation in the ship.
Jesus.
What? On the bridge, this is there's too much of this coming out of Picard lately. His whole thing with Geordi Vision, and now he's like obsessed about this Death Howl story.
Yeah.
So he's telling Riker and Data all about it. Like, it was just like, I didn't even know Worf. I didn't know who he was. He was like somebody totally different, somebody I've never met before. But that's interrupted as Data gets a vessel approaching on long-range sensors. And it's not close enough to identify yet. So we cut down to engineering where Worf is giving the tour. And they have a short conversation where Conmel basically says...
You can call him cornmeal.
Oh, God. Cornmeal's like, wouldn't it be awesome to take over this ship and have lots of glorious battles? Like, Worf, wake up, dude. Charlie X, you can't trust these guys.
Red flag. I'm like, what more do you need?
But Worf pushes back. He's like, maybe it's you who are out of touch with reality. Maybe these dreams of glory of yours should just stay in the past. Well, the Klingon death ritual conversation is still continuing on the bridge. Data explains that the howling is a warning to the dead, beware, a Klingon warrior is about to arrive.
Meanwhile, they zoom in on the vessel that's approaching, and it's more Klingons. So Picard asks Lieutenant Yar to open hailing frequencies so that we can actually talk to whoever it is. And there's a guy on the screen, a Klingon. His name is Kanera.
Kanera is played by David Froman, probably best known as Lieutenant Bob Brooks on 56 episodes of Matlock.
I mean, I watched it, but not enough
to pay attention to those.
recognize.
Yeah.
And he wants to know what their purpose is of being in that area. And they explain that we've investigated a ship and we rescued 3 of your own.
And Kanera asks if that's all that was left of the cruiser Tehakog. And Picard says they weren't from the cruiser, they were on the freighter Batriss. Worf is still hanging out with his new friends. He hasn't had time to inform Picard of what actually happened here. Picard should have been like, a Klingon cruiser, we don't know anything about that. There was a freighter and signs of what we thought were Ferengi, but they had Romulan weapons fire. But a Klingon cruiser? We don't know anything about a Klingon cruiser.
I would think too, but Picard would be his first call, like once he found out that information.
But he hasn't left their side, has he?
No.
Yeah, so when would he have called and ratted them out? Anyway. Kanera explains all of that and declares them criminals and demands that they be extradited as soon as they're within transporter range. So on the bridge, they look up where everybody is, and it looks like they're outside the auxiliary turbolift that goes to the battle bridge. And Riker's like, should we alert Worf? First of all, that would tip them all off, right?
Yeah.
So Picard's like, no, let's send a security team instead. And then Riker's like, you don't think Worf would take them on a tour of the battle bridge, do you? And Picard's like, Bill, we all had to write a term paper at the Academy on Star Trek, the original series, Charlie X, but anything is possible.
So off Tasha goes with her posse. And meanwhile, they're in the corridor, I guess, right outside the battle bridge. That's where Chorus is probing Worf for more information. You know, we heard that you can separate this from the saucer in times of battle. And before Worf can really answer, here comes Tasha and the posse. And Chorus knows that they've been outed.
Now, I don't believe this moment for a second, but we're supposed to believe that this really puts Worf in the middle of his heritage as a Klingon and his duty as a Starfleet officer. But I did not buy that for a minute.
Yeah.
Perhaps your dreams of glory no longer fit the time. They belong buried with the past.
A young girl runs out of the turbolift, which I thought went to the battle bridge, but okay. Who knows how any of this shit works?
Doing up there?
Right.
There's a mom and her daughter. What are they doing up there?
Mm-hmm.
But
and she runs right up to Chorus without batting an eye, and he picks her up. Earlier, we didn't talk about it, but earlier we saw a kid scared out of her fucking brains.
Brain! What is brain?
On seeing these Klingons.
He picks her up and she looks at him eye to eye, nose to nose, and did not fucking bat an eye.
Right.
I was like, she's ready to do battle.
Anyway, Chorus picks this little girl up, and Tasha calls in whatever 10 code is hostage situation. But Chorus hands the child to Worf, who then gives her back to her mother, and then Tasha calls back in to dispatch, disregard. The security goons lead the Klingons away, and Tasha's like, holy shit, Worf, you had us going there for a minute. That whole hostage situation or whatever. And Worf is really offended by this.
Yeah.
Cowards take hostages. Klingons do not.
They throw them in the brig and they turn on the force field.
And Chorus says, Riario, which I could not find in any translation source. And there are lots of websites devoted to this. I even used to have in my private collection of the 90s, the official Klingon to English dictionary back in the day.
Of course you did.
Because of course I did. But no, I could not find what that means.
I don't know. I don't know what would you say when you're just been thrown in jail?
Since I know what happens next, I would say maybe he was saying like, execute the plan, let's go, let's do the thing or whatever. Because
maybe it means stand back and stand by. I don't know.
They're very fine people on both sides. Very fine people.
I have no idea.
Worf arrives on the bridge, and Picard's like, bad news. Your new renegade friends are to be turned over. And Worf's emotional at this. He says they will be tried and executed. And Picard's like, I appreciate the mixed feelings you have about this, but there really is no other option. Worf goes to one of the aft stations, and Picard and Riker whisper about his handling of the situation.
Yeah.
That's bad form, guys. He's in the room.
He's right there.
And they're like, hey, Worf seems to be like, yeah, come on.
He's torn. These are his people. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I wouldn't want someone fucking doing that. Like, if I was witnessing something happening to Black people, and then and you're whispering, wonder what Allie thinks.
Right?
Like no, I would not appreciate that at all.
Picard and K'Nera get back on the phone. It's time to transfer the criminals. But Worf requests permission to address the Klingon captain. Worf and K'Nera exchange another bit of Klingon that appears to have no translation. I looked it up.
Mungi mbus.
Which is Gesundheit. You know, it could have been, get in, loser. We're going, taking over the ship.
Yeah, we're going Star Trekking. Yeah, we don't know.
Worf pleads for his new friends. Their words have stirred something in his pants, a burning in his soul. He's connected with his warrior heritage in a new way, and while he understands the need for punishment in this case, he asks for them to be sent to a planet in the Holly system where they can meet death on their feet with a weapon in their hand, not tied and helpless in a dishonorable execution. And K'Nera agrees with the sentiment, but he's got orders to follow, and he hangs up the phone.
K'Nera is now Starfleet, and with that, he has to abandon some of his cultural things.
Back in the brig, the two Klingons are assembling some kind of weapon from various bits and pieces off their uniforms. I thought that was fucking genius.
It was, and it looks like some sort of like freaking weird sex toy or some sort of two-pronged
what?
thing. Like I don't know, it wasn't quite a phaser, but it was something.
Mm-hmm. Then one of them gets up and uses some other gadget to drop the force field. And then you see fucking Hero outside the door, calls this in, and then just turns into the room like he's going to save the day or whatever.
Right. Just shoot around the corner. Don't put your whole body in there.
Right?
But no. But yeah.
Dumbass.
At least he called it in. And yeah, he gets shot in the chest. Oh my God! They've killed Ramos! You bastards! And there's a firefight that ensues.
Yep. Another UC security guy dodges a shot and then shoots Conmel, but it takes 3 heater blasts to take him down.
Oh my God! They've killed
Lieutenant Conmel.
You bastards!
Meanwhile, Chorus snatches up the first UC's heater and takes out the second UC.
Oh my God! They've killed one of my security. You bastards!
So like 3 people die, like boom, 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 all in a row. Picard calls up K'Nera like, so listen, what had happened was
we lost him.
Your guys escaped. So it's going to be a few more minutes. And K'Nera's like, he's a trained Klingon warrior, so, you know, it's no disgrace for you to ask for my help. But Picard's like, no, we got this. Meanwhile, Chorus has entered main engineering and climbed up a ladder as Tasha arrives, and he's got his homemade heater pointed at the warp core, ready to blow up the damn ship. No! And Tasha calls up Picard, who tries to play hostage negotiator with Chorus, but Chorus says he'll only speak to Worf, his countryman.
So off Worf goes to try to be the hostage negotiator or whatever.
And Picard goes with him.
Cowards take hostages. Klingons do not.
They're in engineering. Chorus is up on the upper level of engineering, and Worf is going to talk to him and try to talk him down. But Tasha's like, let it cool. He's right. He's running on adrenaline right now, so let it cool. But Worf is like, no, you don't know Klingons.
Yeah.
He's only going to wait as long as he believes it's to his advantage, and the moment it's not, he's going to fucking destroy the ship. And everybody with it. He does not care. And so Worf goes up to meet him on his level.
Chorus thinks this is great. Worf has finally come to his side, and together they will separate the Enterprise and light the galaxy up with the battle half. And he also says, I would rather die here than let the traitors of Kling pick the meat from my bones. And Kling is canonically the homeworld of the Klingons from TOS. But at some point that changes.
Yep.
And I didn't think Kling appeared in TNG at all. I thought Kling was TOS, Kronos is TNG. So I was very surprised to hear Kling mentioned.
Yeah, it eventually changed to Kronos.
Yeah.
But yeah. He thinks that Worf is with him, but then when Worf says, put down the phaser, he's like, wait, what? No. He says, I've tasted your heart, whatever that means.
No, he thinks he's a true Klingon.
Yeah, but he says, get off your knees and soar. And I felt like that's got to be so insulting that he's now bowed down to Starfleet and Federation and weakness.
Yeah. Worf is like, Picard is never going to go with this lunacy, right? You know that this QAnon nonsense you're into Picard's never going to go for that. And Worf pulls out his own heater and he tells Chorus again, drop your heater. And Chorus really thought that Worf was had come to his side and knew, and was one of us. And
you're one of us.
And
I thought you were one of us.
And Worf says, you've been looking for battles in all the wrong places, looking for glory in too many faces. He says the test of a warrior is not without, it is within, like the Starfleet Academy Cadet challenge that Wesley had to learn. And he thumps his chest. Here is where we meet the challenge. It is the weakness in here a warrior must overcome. You talk a lot about glory and conquest and victory songs and all that bullshit, but where's your talk of duty, honor, and loyalty? That is what it means to be a true Klingon. And again, he's like, put down the heater.
Of course, is not trying to hear this, though. He's like, living among the humans has made you soft, and it's sucked out your Klingon heart.
He really is worked up into a frenzy at this point, Chorus. He's sweating and has a lot of nervous energy behind him.
Right. He's like, I don't care what you look like. You are not one of us anymore. You're not a Klingon.
Worf says, perhaps not, and pulls his heater and lights him up. And we get an amazing stunt fall. This guy crashes through the glass floor and lands on a glass floor below, and it cracks.
Fun.
Oh my God! They've killed
Chorus, captain of the Klingon Defense Force.
you, bastards!
Why the fuck do we have glass floors on a spaceship, though?
Well, why is it so easy to shatter? Too?
Yeah, right.
If you're walking on it, it should be 5-inch
super
thick
reinforced,
plexi.
right?
Yeah.
Anyway, Tasha instinctively moves to go toward Chorus, but Picard tells her to wait. Remember, he's been paying real close attention to this Klingon death ritual cultural stuff. So Worf climbs down the ladder, flips Chorus onto his back, and as he breathes his dying breath, Worf holds his eyes open and howls at the ceiling. And they do that bit where the camera is looking down at them from overhead, and then as it zooms back, it's not a smooth zoom, it's a jerk, like it just gets further and further away.
I want someone to do that when I die. Just hold my eyes open
and howl.
Yell at the sky.
I got you. I got you.
Just hold my eyes open, yell at the sky.
Hell yeah.
That'd be so cool, actually.
One thing I didn't like about this scene, though, I didn't like how it ended, because as Worf is howling and the camera pulls back and pulls back and pulls back, and then it cuts to Picard, and we end on a close-up of Picard as if it's about him. This moment is about him in any way.
Yeah.
More so than Worf or Klingon culture or whatever. I didn't like that.
Interesting choice that they made. I don't know.
Yeah. On the bridge, Picard calls up Canera and informs him. Canera sounds like a restaurant, like Panera.
Panera.
And informs him that all the Klingons are now dead. Canera asks to speak with Worf and asks how they died, and Worf said they died well. Having learned very little about Klingon culture from this episode of Star Trek The Next Generation, even though he was supposedly paying so close attention, Picard asks if they want the bodies returned. And again, we're told they're only empty shells now, blow them out an airlock or whatever.
And then Canera decides to make an offer to Worf. You know, when you're done with your tour on the Enterprise, you can come work for me. We think that your training and experience could benefit us. And Worf just says, I'm honored. Thank you. He doesn't say yes or no. But he does say when the transmission ends, he's like, I was just being nice. I was just being polite, sir.
And this is when he's walking up the ramp back up to the top of the horseshoe to one of those aft stations. And everyone's watching. And he stops and turns and he says, I was just being polite. And Picard's like, oh, yeah, that's great. On to the next adventure. And Worf's like, no, really, I have no desire to leave the Enterprise, like for real. And Picard's like, okay. And then he adds, Mr. Worf, the bridge wouldn't be the same without you. Now off to the next adventure.
Boy, I'm sure glad that's over with.
I'll be glad to be relieved of this cargo.
Me too.
It is done, and perhaps just as well.
Yeah, but you know, I learned something today.
I sincerely hope that this is the last time that I find myself here.
You just don't get it, do you, Jean-Luc?
You see, of all the species, yours cannot abide stagnation. Change is at the heart of what you are.
That is the exploration that awaits you. Not mapping stars and studying nebula, but charting the unknown possibilities of existence.
This could have been a really deep and meaningful conversation about different cultures. But I felt like what we got was an example of how someone's deeply held beliefs about their culture can easily turn into a harmful kind of obsession. Every time I heard true Klingon, I thought of the no true Scotsman fallacy, which originally goes something like this. Person A says, no Scotsman puts sugar in his porridge.
Mm-hmm.
And person B says, but my Uncle Angus is a Scotsman and he puts sugar in his porridge. And then person A is like, well, then your Uncle Angus is not a true Scotsman, right? So it's this appeal to purity. No true Klingon would give up the warrior lifestyle to go work among these soft humans.
Well, we hear that a lot today.
Yes.
A true American, a true Christian, this and that.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It's toxic, to be honest.
When I was a Christian growing up, I was taught we were supposed to love everyone and welcome the foreigner and feed and clothe the needy. But you say that to an evangelical Christian, and they'll insist you're not a true Christian. They're the true Christian. But there is no purity in any of this. Like Scotsmen, Christians, Klingons, whatever, come in all stripes, and the purity test is just bullshit.
Yep, agree.
But this episode does set up Worf as a Spock-type character in that he is torn between two worlds.
Yeah.
His nature as a Klingon and his training and duty as a Starfleet officer. And I know this is something that becomes a bigger part of his character journey, which I have appreciated on previous watches.
So the whole thing about Klingons and their warrior culture.
Yes.
This feeling of these three that are trying to escape as being lost without having a battle. They got nothing to do. They're obsolete.
Yeah.
If the Klingons are going to bow down to Starfleet and the humans' way of living in the Federation, then there's going to be peace, and then these warriors have no purpose. And I just think about, like, you know, when well, not just Americans, but all countries, we take these young kids, we sign them up for the military at like 17, 18, sometimes younger,
mm-hmm.
and we teach them all about battle and military and all this, and then they do their time. Sometimes they see war, sometimes they don't. And then we send them home. And then what?
Right.
Like, they in their formative years, they were trained to be warriors.
To be
soldiers.
Killing machines. Yeah.
Right. And then suddenly they're not.
Yeah.
And so I feel like I can get the struggle of what's his name? Chorus and Conolingus and what's the other one? What's the other one? Cornmeal.
Cornmeal, yeah.
So this is their culture. This is all they've ever known. Suddenly, the powers that be in their culture is saying, "Oh, now we need to change." They don't know anything else.
Yeah. My last thought was about burials. we sort of touched on this as we were talking through it, but like, I have long thought the idea of cemeteries and graveyards is really kind of weird just in general. But you know, you think back to like the cultural histories were in a lot of Christian tradition, it is you are buried facing the east or whatever, because the Lord will return from the east and the dead will rise from their graves. And they think like you will rise up to face Jesus. And so you have to be buried.
Shit, though.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It's a blood cult, Allie. But right. So that's why a lot of burials, particularly in the West, you go to the cemetery and it looks the way it does for those reasons.
I did not know about the whole burying facing the east or some bullshit like that.
Yeah. And then like the idea that some people need to have that as a holy place, a sacred place to go and communicate with someone that they've lost is a thing that has never connected with me. I don't, because I know that person's not there.
Yeah.
You know, and so I get for some that it gives you a connection, and that's great. And if, you know, that works for you, fine, whatever. It's not something that I have ever needed to do. I don't need to make the pilgrimage to visit, you know, the final resting location of any of my loved ones to be able to feel connected to them. That's just not something I've ever needed. But that's me, and I'm different, and I recognize that.
But I mean, I think it's human nature too to what. I mean, look at the pyramids. Look at all of these different centuries and millions of year old monuments that previous cultures who are now extinct have done to, you know, honor their dead.
Right.
Like they pile them into one spot and build a fucking rock monument on it.
Yeah.
I mean, it must be just human nature of not being able to let go. Also not being able to realize that it ends here. There is no afterlife. We cannot accept that.
Right.
And so we have to have this, we got to do this for the body so that they can still move on after they're gone.
Right.
It is us not being able to accept.
Yeah. Yeah, if you want to plant me as a tree, you know, I'll donate myself to one of those places that does like experiments on decomposition where they just lay human bodies out to be
a body farm.
Yeah, I'll do that. Fuck yeah.
I don't know.
Or make me.
I'd rather be a tree or just burn my body and spread me over the wind on a high mountaintop off a cliff somewhere.
Here's what I would like. I would like the base components of my body, of my being, to be returned to their free state so that they can, in whatever way best supports the environment, so that my atoms return to the cosmos and are useful in some way. And that's why I like the tree thing, because you know the body feeds the tree as it decomposes or whatever. So that yeah.
I like that. I wish we could determine where you're planted. That'd be cool. Plant me somewhere in another country. I do not want to be I'm trying to get out of here.
I will get out of here in life or death, one way or the other.
Right. I kind of want to have my ashes scattered, and I want it to, if I could write my will, I would say I want these people who may not even know each other to go embark on a little adventure for me, my last request. And you go to this place together and you get to know, and you talk to each other and you talk about me and you honor me that way by building other connections. And then you together go and spread my ashes somewhere cool.
That's awesome. Yeah.
That's what I would want.
That's amazing. Well, speaking of last resting places, we have some deaths in the episode to put in the ground.
Ooh, well, somebody died. I wrote a rhyme about it. Want to hear it? Here it goes.
We're here together to honor our friend and comrade. We will all find time to grieve for her in the days that are ahead. But for now, she has asked that we celebrate her life with this.
Yo, hull of the Enterprise. 3 Klingons roll in with fire in their eyes. Chorus, Conmel, talking that smack. Honor, battle, we ain't looking back. These Klingons showed up, talking real tough, but didn't save Kunivus when things got rough. Picard wasn't amused, Worf's feelings were confused. These dudes wanna cruise, but they about to lose. Yo, Starfleet crew just doing their job, guarding the Klingons, but they got straight robbed. One took a blast, one fell too fast. Should've called in sick, now they part of the past. Chorus on the ledge, talking shit, no doubt. Phaser blast hits, and the dude blacks out. Conmel thought he'd last, thought he had class, but the UC said, nah, now you dust in the past. So Chorus went splat, took a phaser to the back. Comet got dropped like a Klingon snack. So let this be a lesson when you're acting all gory. Mess with the Enterprise, it's the heart of glory.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, boy, you want to feel that Klingon glory?
Glory to your hole.
Glory to your hole.
Oh,
That's
God, I love it.
We can handle all the pleasantries later. Now, let's get down to business.
I am willing to pay handsomely for you.
I think you've had a little too much to drink.
Now, what do you know about my money?
Your money.
The money he stole!
You stole his money? Those vouchers I gave you were every bit as good as Latinum.
You can spend Latinum almost anywhere. Those vouchers are only good at your bar.
All right, and then we want to thank all of our patrons and everyone who supports the show. We want to give a special thank you to the founding admirals, Russell, Allie, Peter, Sarah, Sherry, and Bruce.
Thank you, patrons.
Thanks for supporting the show, everybody.
Captain, Starfleet Academy is requesting an update on our estimated arrival.
Finalists, please take your seats.
I must admit you have a very fast mind.
Once I realized it was a trick question, there was only one answer.
Although only one student will be chosen for the Academy, any of you could easily qualify. Candidates, good luck.
You got called to the superintendent's office. It's a story I'd like to hear.
Becca's back now with the answer to this week's Starfleet Academy Cadet Challenge for Heart of Glory. Remind us the question.
Robert Bauer, who played Kunivus, had previously been in a band with which TNG regular cast member?
Allie said Brent Spiner. Sarah said Michael Dorn. And the correct answer is Will Riker on the trombone.
Robert Bauer was an accomplished drummer, and Michael Dorn, who played bass,
son of a bitch,
were in a band together called The Watch.
Affirmative.
Hell yeah.
The Watch.
I couldn't find anything on them. I was lucky to find the name of the band. So if anybody has any more information on that, I think that would be fun.
I'd love to check out an album.
Yeah.
Like that's awesome. I wonder if they have anything recorded that we can go listen to.
That must have been a while ago, too. I imagine they're not still doing it, but maybe they are.
I don't think so. I think I would have been able to find more if they were still doing it. This was back before the internet.
Searching.
There's a band called The Watch with an official website.
Surely Becca would have found it, though.
No, it's an Italian progressive rock band from Milan.
Yeah.
So that ain't it.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, next. Hey, don't roll your eyes at me.
I will roll whatever I want at you.
Roll a joint at me, will ya? Next week, we'll be reviewing Star Trek The Next Generation, Season 1, Episode 21, The Arsenal of Freedom. Picard and the away team fight for their lives on a planet run by a computerized weapons system.
Oh, great. It's another one.
Yeah. Yeah, I do remember this one. It's very much like, kind of like the Alice in Wonderland planet. But instead, this is the one where it's like the used car sales lot. These people had the brings home security system, and it got left on when they were when their species went extinct. And so the Enterprise rolls up, and this system is trying to sell the Enterprise weapons and system upgrades and all of this stuff like a used car salesman. That's all I remember.
Huh.
All right, Becca, what's our question for the Arsenal of Freedom?
What stock footage was used in this episode?
You gotta be fucking
Jesus
kidding
Christ.
me.
I don't know.
Because it could just be the Enterprise zooming across the screen or in orbit of a planet or whatever.
Stock footage.
Oh,
I don't know.
So it may not have been reused Trek footage. It may have been Well, it would have had to be.
It's Trek footage. I'll give you a little bit more than this. It's Trek footage. It's notable footage that you don't see very often, and I'm probably giving it away by telling you that.
Notable footage that you don't see very... Oh!
Yeah, I knew it.
Wait.
God damn it.
Notable footage that we don't see very often.
Yeah.
I have no idea. Someone seeing the Enterprise from the outside? I don't...
Allie, this is so easy.
I'm so pissed off right now. I went too far with the hints.
You did.
What is it? The bathroom?
Saucer separation.
Oh!
It's gotta be saucer separation. Right, but
they only did that once.
We don't see it very often. I didn't remember that they did it in this episode.
Oh, man. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I have no idea.
My original answer was going to be like the Enterprise is in orbiting of a planet, and it's the exact same planet from this other episode or something.
That's
like
what
that.
I was thinking too.
Yeah.
Was some same old orange planet or something. I don't know, but we don't see very often. I didn't think we saw it but once. But saucer separation. I don't know. I'll go something different if you. I'll say.
You go with whatever you want.
Seeing the Enterprise from, I don't know, fucking another ship. I don't know.
Seeing the Enterprise fucking another ship? Is that your final
from another ship.
All right. Well, those are our answers. If you want to play along, you know how to do that. Head out to your social media, share this episode, use the hashtag Starfleet Challenge, and we will pick out a winner. And next time on Humanist Trek, we'll review and discuss Star Trek The Next Generation, Season 1, Episode 21, The Arsenal of Freedom.
Glory to your house.
Make it so, number one.
Humanist Trek is available wherever you replicate your podcast. Follow us on all the social medias at Humanist Trek. Become a patron at patreon.com/humanisttrek. Open hailing frequencies to podcast@humanisttrek.com and visit our website, humanisttrek.com. Humanist Trek is a production of Sarah Austin Media.